Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Indie Spotlight Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties with my internet, but I'm back. I was in the middle of having a great interview with Wild West Bandit, but I'm going to be welcoming him back to the camera. So we'll be waiting on him to come. Hey. Uh,
Hey Shay!
hey, how you doing? Yeah, I was having some internet trouble, so I was able to come back. I'm not sure where we left off at, but I was asking about. I think I was asking about you having upcoming performances.
Yeah. Yeah, I got some performances coming up. Oh, my fault. I'm sitting here trying to I'm screen recording this.
I was asking about. I think I was asking about having upcoming performances.
But yeah, I actually do have some upcoming performances. I'll be at 1411 Studios once again tomorrow. I'll be at the Fire, the Raven Lounge, probably throughout the week. Let's see. I actually have a whole list of things to do.
You got a lot of performances. They opened up a lot of stuff for lately?
Like lately, a lot of things have been opening, but of course, it's not at full capacity. Like, it's more or less like, hey, we'll let everybody in at like 25 to 35%. So I just happen to be within that 25 to 35.
Great.
I just get there early.
Cool. So let me pin your name down here. So I want to ask you, due to COVID-19 shutdowns, where do you see the future of live music going?
I feel as if with COVID-19 and this shutdown that we as musicians, as artists, necessarily have to band together to work and make the living that we want to make out of it. I mean, like, of course, we can't necessarily go into, the places that we're used to going, but this will also give us the time to be optimistic and find other places to go. Like, for instance, like I said, I just got my camera, and that's what I've been doing. Like, pick something else.
Yeah, to expand, and it makes like
exactly.
Like it makes you like where like you can do things. It makes you like create other things,
right?
Other avenues. What artists have you worked with in the past or present or currently working with?
Let's see. I'm not really working with any artists right now. I am sticking with who I know, and that's me. And like later on, of course, I'll get to the collaborations, but for right now, I'm in a mind state where I would like to put my things together first instead of necessarily worry about everybody else's stuff. Because I was one of those people who will always put everybody else first, and I would be the one in the background just like, okay, now I have to get to my things, and my things would be always incomplete. So right now I'm being a little selfish with my time.
No, that's good. It's good time management.
Right.
I think that's good.
I mean, like, it's nothing wrong with working with anybody else. It's just that right now for me, well, on a personal note, for right now, I would just rather get myself together to work with anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, by the time I go to actually collab with somebody, I could bring a whole portfolio and be like, here, this is what I have. Let's get to work.
No. I think that's good. So if you had the chance to work with any like artist, producer, or company, like with any artist, who would you want to work with?
Dr. Dre.
You would want to work with Dr. Dre.
I want to work with Dr. Dre. I mean, the only reason why I say Dr. Dre is a producer, I mean, as far as any artists go, like talented artists nowadays, I mean, like, of course, everybody wants to work with Drake. I would like to work with Drake too. I would like to work with Drake. Why not? We can't work with Michael Jackson. He's gone. We can't work with DMX. He's gone. Give me Drake.
Right. Okay.
But as far as Dr. Dre go, Dr. Dre has just been a pioneer of hip hop to me ever since I was a kid, ever since, you know, like the NWA era and the Tupac era. So, like, if I ever had a chance to work with one of those guys, if I could dig up Eazy-E from the dead and get him on the track with me, I would.
Awesome. Cool. Cool. So this is normally the time when I ask my guests, do they have any questions for me?
Um, I ain't got no question.
Okay. I don't ask, do they have questions for me? Like, did they want me to ask or did they want to ask me a question? If not, that's fine.
Well, babe, how long have you been doing the indie spotlight?
So I started doing this in late 2020. I've been doing this since late 2020. Yep.
Right. Okay. Cool. Because
And
I
I
remember
think
seeing posts about, like, you know, your indie spotlight popping up, and I was like, yo, that seems like a great thing.
yeah, I just knew that a lot of people in our surrounding areas all over the USA, but of course I'm in Philadelphia and so are you,
Right.
don't like get seen. Like I noticed that a lot of people might not use their platforms to share other artists, and I see a lot of people that do that on their platforms. But I wanted to make sure that I did like in-depth interviews to ask artists what they've been doing, catching up with them because there's just like so many talented people like in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and a lot of different cities across the USA.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Right. Like, I
do you
agree. I agree.
do you have any like music business tips, or have you ever been on tour or anything like that? Because I'm just really curious about how like people function on tour.
Um, yes, I actually went on tour, like, and like right before the pandemic started. I did a tour between New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Massachusetts. Um, that was pretty cool. I got to meet Freeway. Well, I knew Freeway previously, but I got to, you know, reintroduce myself to him. I got to
Oh,
meet who else was there? I got to meet a few I guess a few famous people. I got to meet a
you got
few of
to.
them people, and, you know, like a lot of them stay in contact. A lot of them, you know, they're a little too famous to talk. So,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as like tours go, as far as like places, yes, I've traveled between here and like the South, like Texas, North Carolina, Baltimore.
Oh, so
Like,
you performed in all those different cities? I mean, all those
yeah,
different states?
yes.
What is this? So, is there anything different from performing like in the South or in a different area than performing in like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
There's a total difference, a big difference, a
What
big
is
difference.
different about it? What is different? If you don't mind sharing, if you don't, we can go to the next question.
See, this is the part I don't want to necessarily say because I feel as if a lot of people from Philadelphia may take this the wrong way.
If you don't want me to
You
dig
need to
that
stop
deep, I
hating
can
something.
just like leave it like how it is. I just tend to ask a lot of questions.
No, I'm just saying, I'm all right. I mean, I'll elaborate, of course, but my thing is this: in Philadelphia, we feel as if it's not our friend, then we're not going to support them. If it's not our
Mm-hmm.
brother or cousin or family member in some type of way, we're not going to support
Mm-hmm.
them. Outside of here, it don't matter what you're doing as long as you're doing something predominantly straight, predominantly good. If you're doing music, if you're doing fashion, and you go to promote it and someone likes it, they'll tell you that they like it. Here, I feel as if even if they may like it, they may not even give you the credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like working in Philadelphia is harder than working almost anywhere else. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
rule goes, if you can make it here, then you can make it anywhere.
Oh wow. Okay. No, I definitely like listening and finding out like about music from another person's perspective because I definitely have my perspective on things, and my perspective is not always very
Right,
palatable, but it's pretty true. And that's the one thing people cannot take away from people is their experiences, and it is
right,
essential.
right.
Um, I'm trying to think. What was I thinking? So you told me about that. Do you have any music business advice? Because I'm like really big on music business, but I'm just curious. Like some people don't think like
Some music
I like to
business
get
advice.
yeah.
Copyrights, register copyrights. That's all I have to say about that one. If you love this passion, if this is what you want to do, make sure that you copyright everything that you're doing. Make sure that you like market it. Marketing strategies are definitely important, but to have your own copyrights and trademark and everything should be key.
Okay. Hey, I see you. Okay, I'm sorry. I see you in here, real Swami. I had some technical difficulties earlier, so I'm gonna give Wow West Bandit a little more time, and I will definitely put you in. I will definitely join wrap up the interview and then have you come in. I'm gonna ask you maybe one or two more questions, and then I'll wrap up the interview.
Okay.
First, I want to thank you for being reachable and me able to be and approachable.
Oh, no problem.
For me to, message you and everything.
No problem. Thank you for
Could you
having
tell
me. Like I
everyone?
said.
Could you also tell people again where they can find all your stuff at? Because I know people need to know where they can find your stuff at.
Listen, y'all can find me on Instagram at Wild West Bandit WP, on Facebook at Wild West Bandit. As far as any streaming platform goes, just type in Wild West Bandit and you'll find me there. Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, YouTube, whatever. My personal YouTube page is Wild West Bandit Radio. So if you happen to click on that, you'll find me there. Yeah.
And could you tell them about what you're doing coming up, like within like your next coming up performance and where they can come see you at or watch you at?
I'll be at 1411 Studios tomorrow. Tomorrow after 11 o'clock, because usually the shows start around like 8 or 9. The performances don't necessarily start until like around 10 or 11. So I'll be there at 11 o'clock. If I'm not on stage, I'll definitely be in the crowd with my camera. So I'm multitasking. I'm doing 2 jobs.
Okay, well, I will say that I'm happy to have did an interview with you, and thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on. And you guys check out Wild West Bandit on all streaming platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Tunes, iMusic. And I would like to say I'll talk to you again, and probably hopefully I'll interview you again sometime soon. Sometime
Definitely.
soon.
Hey, like
And
I
to have a
said,
good
thank you
night.
for having me.
Yeah, and to let you know to have a good night.
Right. It's okay. Things happen.
Okay. And let you know have a good night, and so everybody say and
All
thank
right.
you
Well,
guys for coming in.
and thank you once again for having me. I guess I'm gonna stick around for the next interview. I want to see what this guy's talking
Sure.
about.
Great.
All right. Well, I'm out. Y'all have a great night.
Have a good night, Wawa Bandit.
Yes.
Okay, we just wrapped up our interview with Wawa Bandit, and I will be bringing the real Swami to the camera because you've been waiting for a little bit, not for too long. Hey,
Hey, what's up?
how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
How's your Friday going?
It's going. It's
Okay,
going
so
well.
and your name is the real great. So your how did you come up with your name, the real Swami?
It actually came up off of a rap generator back in like 2015 because I first started rapping. So
Oh, okay.
it was actually a Wu-Tang rap generator. It's Hindu. So from what I know,
Yeah.
Swami is kind of like similar to like a pope or a reverend or someone
Yes.
of a higher stature in the Hindu religion, and it's basically like a spiritual master, someone who basically gives guidance and stuff. So I thought it was cool and relatable, and then it just kind of stuck. Everyone kind of referred to me as that, and then it never really it doesn't like mean the same thing when people call me that. That's just like become my name.
Yeah, I like it. What area are you from?
I'm actually from Connecticut.
Oh, are you in Connecticut now?
Yeah, currently.
Oh, okay. So I've never been to Connecticut. what inspired you to start being like to producing? You just told me you were rapping, but
Yeah.
what inspired you to like rap and produce and stuff?
So what actually ended up happening is I came to the realization that like I can't move forward in rapping without getting beats that I owned. And so
Mm,
I was just when I first started rapping, I was like 20, 21. I was really broke. I was going to school and I was like, I got to start producing. And in my head, I thought producing would be something easy, something fast to kind of do. And then I just kind of went down that rabbit hole inadvertently and just kept producing. And from there, I kept trying to get better and I wanted to make better. And that it just kept evolving. And then I put the rap aside, still wrote music and stuff, but stuck with the production.
okay. Because I heard like one of your beats, you had like an R&B, like slick, like smooth type of beat. I was like, dang, this sounds like something I like, yeah, like what? Um,
Sure.
what type of music do you make? Like, what type of music do you, what kind of music like inspires you, or what kind of music you feel like you make?
Well, you said R&B, so that's definitely one of the genres that I listen to a lot. I think from a songwriter's perspective, I think R&B holds a better value to me when it comes to songwriting, more relatable, things like that for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do still listen to rap, but I find myself gravitating a lot more towards like pop records and R&B, um, definitely more funk records and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I try to head towards a direction that I feel like is a little bit more inspiring and less limited per se. Um,
Mm.
those are the type of music that I tend to go to when I'm actually like looking for inspiration to go upon.
Hmm. Great, great. So let everyone know where they can find you at, like where they can find your social media and all your social media platforms.
Well, I'm on all social media platforms at the real Swammi. So as it's spelled on Instagram, you can find me everywhere else. Currently, I'm building a BeatStars, and I do have a YouTube page, but I'm gonna be revamping that when I release all the beats that I've been making.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past little bit, I've been making beats, but you can find me on any social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all at the real Swammi.
Cool. Um, so what is the best advice you would tell like an upcoming engineer or producer or just like rapper, artist?
I think advice kind of would vary for depending on what you want to do, but one thing I would
Mm,
definitely say is give yourself time to get good at one of them. You really can't.
mm-hmm.
People like to jump around and they want to be a jack of all trades, but if you meet anyone that is a jack of all trades, they spent a good period of time being good at one thing, spending time learning it and really dissecting it before they move on to the next thing.
Mm, mm-hmm. I normally say be a jack of all trades, be a master of one.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, like, cause there's like certain things that you can get by on with doing at like a minimum level, but there's like some things that you cannot do
You
it.
got to be great. You got to be great at something. There's something that people go to you because they know that you're great at it. If you never really give
Yeah.
time to become good at something, you're never going to really know what like you can really benefit from or how far you can go with it.
Um, right. I agree. Um, so if you had the chance to work with any artist or producer or each one both, it could be two question answer or one question answer. Who would you want to work with?
I'd go off producer. Producer first would
Producer.
probably be if I could work with Timbaland, that would be like my ultimate like he's definitely somebody that's encouraged me to really expand in production. You know, his discography is just really vast and he has a lot of material. So just that alone really makes me want to work with him and also his ability to collaborate. As an artist, I think modern day, I would really like to work with like Bruno. Bruno Mars would be like
Bruno Mars.
dope. Even if I could just songwrite, engineer, track, like just be there for a session like that, that would just be awesome because I feel like for him, he makes such intricate music and his approach to music is just so like relatable and everyone's able to absorb it and likes it. So it's like it'd be something really cool to be a part of.
Awesome. Do you have any products or merchandise for sale?
No, actually, I have absolutely no merchandise right now. I wish I did. Right now, I'm building my brand around production, and I have some songs that I'm releasing under my brand. And then, merchandise is definitely something that I would really like to get into.
Do you sell beats?
Yeah. Mainly what I
Okay.
do is I try and build the connect. Right now, I'm just building a connection of clients and stuff, people that I'm working with like directly, especially like around me and in my hometown. I'm trying to work with people a little bit directly and build something organic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be releasing beats on my BeatStars. So I was building up a discography of beats so I can release more than just like 10 or 11. I want to try and put out like a good 40 or 50 beats at once so that there's a
Mm-hmm.
good catalog. And then from there, I'd like to release merchandise and stuff.
So when you release, when you get to the point when you're going to release your music or release your beats on BeatStars, will they have like, will you be able to just like buy them right then and there, or will the person listen to them and then talk to you about them, or like, because I've never worked or went on BeatStars.
So BeatStars is pretty dope. I had one in the past. I
Mm-hmm.
ended up taking a little bit more of an engineer route at that point, so I kind of got off of BeatStars. But
Mm-hmm.
back from my experience, from what I know, they expanded a lot. So it's the basically the number one selling or the number one location for beats on the internet. And it's a lot of big producers. A lot of people go to YouTube for their beats.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 10, if they're going to a website to buy the beat after they go on YouTube, it's going to BeatStars.
Mm.
It's just that thing, but they're really cool. You can buy it instantly. They do have a lot of stuff on there for you, like through their subscription levels. You can actually you can subscribe to them to have your own website. So from there, you can have they can engage with you if they want, comment on the beats and all that, and purchase it all at the same time.
So, I mean, that's pretty interesting as far as like when someone buys a beat off a producer. I
Hmm.
remember one time when I was going to buy a beat off a producer, they were like, but it wasn't all the ownership really wasn't mine or something like that. I really didn't understand that a lot. Like, is there any information you can tell me about that? Like when somebody buys a beat off of a website, is it completely the person who bought it's beat, or is it?
Well, it depends. There's levels to it. So since the original creator owns all the copyrights, they can basically do what's called leasing, which is the
Mm,
lowest level, which is probably what you were offered as a lease.
yeah, yeah.
It takes the same principle as leasing a car, but the the difference between a lease of your car and a lease of a beat is they can resell that. That's like if they could sell that same car you drove off the lot with to somebody else
Mm,
who walks in, right? The idea around it
mm,
is a lot of people can't afford something like that. So they start with a lease because there's stipulations to it that most artists aren't going to meet. A lot of artists, it's very tough for a lot of artists to even get 10,000 plays, which is like some of the minimum things for what you would get. Once you exceed it, you up your lease or you pay a fee to continue to own the copyright. He's leasing you the right to use the beat without, and in return, you're getting a lower cost, but he's able to do it again to somebody else or she. But the producer's
oh, okay.
with somebody
I'm
else
sorry. Go
over and
ahead.
over again until someone buys the exclusive right, which means that whoever buys it exclusively owns it exclusively.
Wow. So see, you just dropped a little bit of like some knowledge. So
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask about that too was that let's say you lease it, right?
Okay.
Let's say I lease the song, and then after, let's say the producer leases the song to like three people, including me, and then somebody comes along and buys the rights to the song. What happens to the three people that leased the song?
Well, you still own up to your extent of the contract. So when you buy a beat off of BeatStars, they actually have automatic contracts. So when you purchase it, that's basically your approval of the contract, and then it's sent to you. So there can be anything in it, as you know, with any type of entertainment contract, there can be anything. But when someone buys it exclusively, you would own up to the max of what your limit would be, and then you would have to negotiate with the new owner if they would be willing to extend anything further from basically what they want to do. So let's say, for example, three people get it and one person blows up off it, or they buy it exclusively and then they become big, or it's a record label or whatever it is. You'd have to approach the record label, which in turn they're probably not going to give it to you, any additional like rights to it.
Okay.
You know, that's usually the limitation to it. So, you know, there's a drawback. So when someone buys an exclusive, they can't, sometimes you'll get a question like, how many people lease this? Because if you find out that 1,000 beat, which could possibly not be rare, because there's some people selling beats at the thousands.
Yeah, sure. I mean, every beat is not created equal. Like, I know there are some people that actually can create their beats and actually sing or rap or do poetry or whatever over them, but all beats are not created equal. Some, like, when I hear like production beats, I'll be like, yo, man. But anyway.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept when you talk about the whole leasing and exclusive and then unlimited and however you want to break it down. Sometimes it gets broken down a lot. But yeah, that's the gist of it from there.
Yeah, that was some really good advice. Do you consult artists?
Do I consult with them? No, I would really like to actually. I
was about to say, because you just did like a little. That was like a little mini lesson.
I really like to. That's something enjoyable for me. Like branding is something I've really grown into. So that would be enjoyable as well to go about that.
Sure. So due to COVID-19's restrictions and live music restrictions, where do you see like the near future of like live music?
I mean, if you go off, I would probably just take like what's going on with sports, outdoor versus indoor venues, kind of like the NBA doing a bubble type thing, whereas artists are going to be trying to live stream. I kind of was calling this at the beginning of COVID, was that I think there's going to be expensive tickets to go to the concert of, you know, a place that would normally sit 1,000 people is going to take 200 or 300. And then you're going to live stream the rest of it for a small fee. And you can ultimately reach out to a larger audience than just where you're performing. I could see artists trying to take advantage of something like that.
I think that would be one way to do it. I think like maybe when everything opens up, I think it will be a good time for independent artists or non-mainstream artists, because everyone is going to like grab at the first concert and the first live performance, and I feel like it's like it'll matter a little less like your level of experience or your level of popularity.
I think people are craving that live concert that they'll just go to a local venue of nobody they know just to get that experience again, because it's going to take a while for everything to start ramping up again. I do think you're going to find, you know, concerts coming back. I think you're going to find a lot of that stuff because you already see it with sports where certain states, the sport whatever team is in that area have full capacity at their stadium. So I could see that happening in their area with concerts, especially outdoor.
Sure. Do you have any up and coming performances, whether virtually or live or a collaboration coming up?
As far as live performances, you know, with the role that I play a lot with music, I'm not really in front of the camera very much, except when I'm doing like my beat stuff. I do actually have a few songs in the works, and one of the things I want to do is actually hold a live concert like virtually on it and do that type of stuff, like hopefully be able to gain some traction around the songs or my discography that I'm trying to build with the artists I'm working with.
Awesome. And tell me a little bit about the artists that you are currently working with or artists you have worked in the past with.
All right. I've worked with a lot with rappers and singers. Mostly for a while I was engineering, so I was really just engineering other people's work and, you know, working directly with them. But now I've kind of taken an approach in the past year. The artist I'm working with is anywhere from, you know, I'm working with an Afrobeats artist all the way to pop to any type of rap. Definitely different genres of rap a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of subgenres.
Yeah, but I'm trying to kind of go all over the place. I have some records that I'm trying to find artists to put on. That's one of the biggest things I do is just try and scout artists at a similar or just above level that I feel like has a talent or something. So, I have some funk
Hmm.
stuff, something that's kind of a little bit trying to be a little bit ambidextrous, as I would say, like just a lot of different stuff.
Versatility.
Yeah,
Diversity, versatility.
yeah, exactly.
And I think that's good. That's like something that I see. That's something that I'm seeing less within the record company world.
Yeah, I think it goes.
And
I think it goes back to that master of one type of thing. People are really trying. They get in and then they get pigeonholed and they get stuck. It's easy to just get lost in the hustle and bustle of your sound. Like
Mhm.
you have a sound that's very short lived, but people are grabbing onto it. Could be a couple months that you see success and then it just dies out.
Sure, sure. That's like the importance of branding.
Yeah, very much so.
Making like what makes like everybody's doing the same thing, but what makes sure is different or what makes sure
Oh,
is unique.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, let me see. Oh, so I normally ask the guests that I have on, do they have any questions for me or that they would like to ask me?
Yeah.
If you do.
I mean, one of my like, what got you into wanting to interview? Because sometimes interview is definitely a not. You don't see that all the time. People always wanting to be a part of the media portion of the interview.
So, I noticed that, so let's say, um, I started doing something called the Counterculture Report, where I would report on music, politics, just everything, like my perspective on everything that was happening with the world
Okay.
in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely had some dynamic changes and a lot of things we were facing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a title to an episode of the Counterculture Report. I think it was called Enthusiasts. And oh God, fake influencers, enthusiasts versus like professionals or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a rapper, and he came in, and I think his name is Leak Abe Spitta. So
Mm-hmm.
I tell the story all the time. So shout out to Leak. And when I started talking to him, he starts telling me about the business, started telling me about how he rapped, and started telling me about how different cities embraced what he was doing,
Yeah.
and he started managing artists. And after that, that like inspired me to make the show. And I think often in music, when people finally get somewhere where they want to get at in music, they don't talk about what inspired them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about who inspired them and what inspired them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like us on here,
Mm-hmm.
me watching people. We're always inspiring people, and people forget to talk about those things. You
Yeah.
know,
It sounds like to me you really want to bring light into the background or the human of the artist.
yeah. And I want people to know, and I want artists to know that to support each other.
Mm-hmm.
To talk about your friend, support your friend as much as you are supporting that other, like, celebrity or that person that is in a higher realm, is because, when we use integrity, we think about people that we like, our family, our friends, or other people that inspire us and stuff, and not just the being a huge that.
Yeah, of course.
And that media is very important. That
Oh,
media
and
and music just go so close together.
I think they work so well together that they're almost at
Mhm.
this point, intertwined. They're one and the same thing.
They are. Yes, they are. Because to me, without like media, without media, there is no celebrity, or there is no idol, or whatever you want to call it, or
There's
artist.
no story,
Yeah,
no nothing. There's just the
the
music,
story.
which some people could say that maybe it would be great just to get the music and the nothing else. But I think it naturally took its course this way because of people's just drawn interest to the star life and the personas that people portray.
Yeah, and I hopefully that you know, when I talk to people, like when I talk to Wild West Bandit or when I talk to you and you talk about your experiences, that's like what we learn from, and we get to meet different people and great artists that are around, and to use the great artists and the great producers and the influencers and the models that are around, so that
Yeah.
like a we create like a bigger music family, you know,
Yeah,
and
of
you get
course.
try to like pretty much get paid.
Yeah.
Like get paid for what we do, because it takes out a lot of time to do this stuff.
Oh yeah.
It takes a lot.
If you're a good interviewer, finding good questions or developing good questions that
Mhm.
can really keep interest, because you could just ask normal stuff, but you know, it's
Yeah,
what makes you a little bit different that it makes it a dope interview.
yeah, and I like discussing like this stuff with you, because this is the stuff that like you need to know about, like, because I don't know a lot about like the production side, because when I went to school, they wanted us to like do like make our own beats, and I'm like, why? Like when when I know some banging people or a banging friend, why can't I like pay them to do it? Like, aren't we supposed to be keeping this like that? Like, I don't want to do everything. Like,
Yeah.
some people want to do everything. I don't want to do everything,
Yeah.
especially like production. I
Exactly.
pay somebody.
Hmm.
Um. Let me see. How long have you been producing music? It's been long.
About I think it's coming up on about 6 years that I've been really like trying to produce records and getting better, and you know, getting to a point where I feel that I'm making stuff that, you know, I can present to artists that represents something and will become of like a high demand or a sound that people want. Um, I would say within the past 3 years is when I really started to like, you know, I was fooling around, like I had said, with the whole production for the first 3 years, just learning, like just delving into stuff, picking up books, doing all that. First 3 years is like, it's your, it's the beginning of the rabbit hole. It's dark. You don't know anything. It's just a blank slate. And then after about that 3 year mark, I ended up being able to create things on a consistent basis. And now it's like, you know, really refining and chiseling out the details and getting to the point. So I would say 6 years producing, 3 years really getting to the point where I feel like I was like making records and understanding them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I asked you this earlier, but what is some of the best advice? I don't know if we already talked about that or not, but what is some of the best advice you could give someone that wants to be a producer or an artist? And I think you already did. I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
already asked you.
I had
Might
really only
already asked
touched on you know, as vaguely. I mean, you can give as much advice as possible as an artist. My original advice was to become really good at one of the things, because you had
Oh,
mentioned
that's right.
engineer, producer. But from my perspective, if you want to engineer and produce, I would say get an internship. It may sound lame, but go to school for music production, or find somebody that you can mentor with. You need to learn from somebody that's higher than you.
Right.
YouTube and all that stuff is great, but
Hmm.
nobody specific. But not everyone on YouTube is given the best advice. Not everyone has that the classically trained ear to be able to guide you in a direction that's going to make you a good musician. Not just somebody who can do FL Studio or someone who could do Logic or someone like that. Someone who actually understands when you bring a guitarist in, what you're looking for and what their job is and what you need to get done. Because it's bigger than just putting a snare on the 1 and 2 or a kick on this in this spot, or the grids and all the stuff that you see in the technology. I think working with people who are actual musicians and better than you, and someone who almost can take you under your wing, internships, school, wherever you can find it.
Okay. So I totally agree with that. So I'm getting ready to wrap up the interview, but I would like for you to say where everyone can find you at and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that before I finish.
Yeah, of course. So everyone can find me on any social media at The Real Swammi. That's TheRealSwammi, at The Real Swammi on any social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank Wild West Bandit for coming on. I want to thank
For
you
sure.
for coming on and being reachable and
Yeah,
me
of
being
course.
able to reach out to you and talk to you. And I also wanted to let everyone know that after we're done with the interview, you can always go back and watch this interview exclusively on IGTV. You can go right to my page and watch it.
Cool.
And if you guys, if you, The Real Swami and Wild West Bandit, want to have this episode, you can always download. I'm not sure if it's called INS downloader or Instagram downloader,
Yeah.
and download this actual thing and pull it
Cool.
and use it
Cool.
if you want.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good. So thank you for coming this evening, and I want to tell everyone good night.
Yeah,
and I'll be seeing you guys soon.
Thank you again.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bye.